Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The date is 4th Dhul Hijjah 1447 on the Islamic calendar, corresponding to 21st May 2026 on the Gregorian calendar. And you are watching Muslim World News with me, your host Abdulrahman Mohamed. Let's dive in headfirst and take a look at today's headlines. On our first story, nationwide transport strike paralyzes Kenya. And on international news, WHO declares Ebola global emergency. Taking a look at business stories, French firm to upgrade Mombasa port. And finally on sports, Victor Wanyama eyes new life in coaching. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back once more. Now on to our first story right here in Kenya. Kenya has been turned into a walking nation as a total nationwide transport strike leaves millions of commuters stranded over a historic spike in fuel prices. The industrial action officially began at midnight Monday, May 18, 2026, following a unanimous directive from the Transport Sector Alliance. Major public service carriers, long-distance bus operators, cargo logistics fleets and ride-hailing cabs have collectively removed their vehicles from the highways. The sudden gridlock follows an unprecedented price hike announced by the Energy Regulatory EPRA. Public fury is mounting over a 46 shillings per litre surge in diesel prices, driving the pump rates past 242 shillings in Nairobi and threatening a massive wave of food and commodity inflation. While commuters in major towns like Nairobi, Kisumu and Meru are forced to walk hours to reach work and schools, legal battles are escalating. Transporters have filed an urgent lawsuit at the High Court, demanding a complete freeze on the new pump prices and calling for the immediate disbandment of EPRA over alleged lack of transparency, highlighting the economic impossibility of continuing operations under the new rates. Joseph Bundi, Secretary General of the Meru Matatu Association, stated during a press briefing, hawa watu wa malori, bodaboda, gari ndogo, taxi, hii shida ni ya kila mtu. Kwanza nchi mzima, tunaomba kila mtu atusupport kwa hii mgomo ndio serikali isikize sauti ya mwananchi. With the government under intense fiscal pressure and the transport sector refusing to return to work without extensive tax revision, the country braces for severe economic disruptions. Now on to our next story, still in Kenya. Kenya is scrambling to avert severe US economic sanctions following a damning intelligence report revealing that over 1,000 Kenyan citizens have been covertly recruited to fight for Russian forces in Ukraine. The warning, highlighted in Parliament on Tuesday, follows a joint NIS and DCI investigation confirming a highly organized human trafficking pipeline. Young Kenyans, lured by promises of tech and hospitality jobs, were flown to Moscow via Turkey and UAE, where they were forced to sign combat contracts under the Russian Defense Ministry. The scale of the operation, which far exceeds initial government estimates of 200 recruits, has triggered immediate alarm in Washington, US. Officials warn that failure to prosecute the local operators of this network could violate secondary sanction, potentially freezing vital economic partnerships and international aid. In response to intense domestic and international pressure, Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi held crisis talks with the Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. While Russia has agreed to bar future Kenyan enforcements, local authorities are still tracking down the local kingpins responsible for sending vulnerable citizens into active combat zones. Addressing the grave security and diplomatic threat in Parliament, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah stated, "The Kenyans leave the country on tourist visas to join Russian army. Our citizens are being used as cannon foders, and we must dismantle this network before our international relations are permanently damaged. As families of the missing in action demand repatriation, Nairobi remains caught in a dangerous geopolitical crossfire between its Western allies and Moscow." Let's move our focus onto the coastal region, where Kilifi County introduces a new HIV prevention program using lenacapavir, a long-acting injection offered in 10 health facilities to help reduce HIV infection among vulnerable groups. This county joins the national campaign aimed at cutting new HIV infections to below 1,000 cases by 2030. Lenacapavir started rolling out in Kilifi earlier this year and is now available in selected health centers across the county, says Disease Prevention Officer Catherine Munyoki. The injection improves prevention efforts because patients only receive the dose twice a year instead of taking daily pills. Researchers report that the drug provides strong protection against HIV infections. Kenya launches the Injectable PrEP program in February 2026 with support from the Ministry of Health, LVCT Health Kenya, the World Health Organization, and the Kenya Red Cross as part of efforts to strengthen HIV prevention services nationwide. Now on to our next story. Marsabit-Wajir border dispute. Tensions escalate after one person is shot during protest in the contested T2 area as angry residents clash with police over a long-running land ownership conflict. Demonstrations break out in Saku, Moyale and Sololo sub-counties following the arrest of two community elders accused of incitement, with protesters demanding their release and the suspension of planned government security camp on the disputed land. Demonstrators blocked sections of the busy Moyale-Nairobi highway, disrupting transport and business activities while calling for immediate government intervention. The protests intensified following the arrest of former chief Dabasa Dambi and the elder Garacha Dambala, who authorities accused of links to incitement and militia activity, allegations community members strongly deny. Saku Sub-County Youth Chairman Guyo Karacho calls on the government to ensure justice and transparency in handling the dispute. Kancharo says residents deserve answers and reassurance that the rule of law will prevail. Marsabit woman representative Naomi Jilo Wako condemned what she terms as intimidation of residents opposing the construction project. She urges leaders to maintain peace and respect community boundaries. Meanwhile, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen says the government is holding talks with leaders from both counties to prevent further escalation. Murkomen says, "We want to make sure that our people live in peace." The Marsabit-Wajir border dispute centers on ownership of the Titumu area, where the government plans to construct a multi-agency security camp. Leaders from both counties claim ownership of the land, with Marsabit leaders accusing authorities of ignoring earlier directives suspending development in the contested area. The dispute continues to fuel political tension and community unrest despite ongoing government consultations aimed at finding a lasting solution. Now on our next story, a court in Nigeria has sentenced former Power Minister Saleh Maman to 75 years in prison after convicting him of laundering billions of nairas linked to public electricity projects. The judgment was delivered by a high court in Abuja after prosecutors proved that Maman used private companies to divert funds meant for government power initiatives while serving in office under former President Muhammadu Buhari. Nigeria's anti-corruption agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, said the former minister could not be located after the conviction. In a social media post announcing his political ambitions, Maman said he was ready to continue serving the people of Taraba State through a gubernatorial bid in the 2027 elections. Maman headed the Ministry of Power from 2015 to 2021, a period where citizens across Nigeria continued to experience frequent electricity outages despite government promises to improve the sector. The court also directed him to refund part of the stolen money. His conviction is among the few high-profile corruption rulings involving senior Nigerian officials. Our next story is one that makes us question humanity, where armed attackers have abducted more than 50 school children, including very young pupils, after raiding 3 schools in northeastern Nigeria. The incident occurred in Musa town in Borno State, where witnesses said the gunmen arrived on motorcycles and forced children out of their classrooms before escaping. Residents reported that the attackers struck shortly after security officers completed a patrol in the area. One school administrator said panic spread across the community after gunfire erupted and armed men entered the school compound to seize children. Local residents suspect the attack may be linked to extremist groups that have operated in the region for years, including Boko Haram. Borno State has experienced repeated cases of violence, abductions, and displacement due to insurgent activities. Community members say that many parents are anxiously waiting for the information about the missing children as security teams continue such operations. Now, for our next story, French President Emmanuel Macron has announced billions of dollars in planned investments during the Africa Forward Summit in Nairobi as France seeks to strengthen relations beyond its traditional allies in Francophone Africa. The summit, co-hosted by Kenya and France, brings together African leaders and business executives to discuss trade, security, and investment opportunities. Macron says the funding would target sectors such as renewable energy, artificial intelligence, agriculture, and the digital economy. While addressing delegates at the summit, Macron said Africa is succeeding. It's the youngest continent in the world and needs investment to become more self-reliant, noting that the initiative is expected to generate nearly 250,000 jobs both in Africa and France. France has recently faced criticism and declining influence in several former colonies in West Africa, where military governments have reduced ties with Paris and sought support from countries such as Russia. Analysts say holding the summit in Kenya reflects France's attempt to reshape its relationship with African nations through economic partnerships instead of relying mainly on military influence. Kenyan officials also view the gathering as an opportunity to promote stronger continental cooperations beyond language and colonial division. Now, as we take a stronger focus onto the Islamic world, the sacred courtyards of Masjid al-Haram are filling with a sea of white as nearly 900,000 international pilgrims arrive in Saudi Arabia for the start of the Hajj 2026 season. According to official figures released by the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah on Monday, May 18, 2026, over 860,000 worshippers have officially landed in the kingdom. The peak of the annual pilgrimage is set to commence next week, running from May 25th through May 30th. Saudi officials have heavily leaned on technology to manage the immense crowds, processing over 240,000 travelers through the automated Makkah Route initiative. Digital system handles everything from electronic visas to automated luggage transfer, allowing arriving pilgrims from 10 nations to proceed directly to their hotels without waiting at airport carousels. Infrastructure upgrades have also rolled out across the holy sites, including 25 new development projects in Makkah, expanded pedestrian shade zones around Mount Arafat, and thousands of newly built multi-story utility complexes in Mina. Strict security checkpoints are being maintained at the all city entrance points, with authorities using the Nusuk Smart platform to ensure only permitted pilgrims enter the holy zone. Reflecting on the scale of the spiritual preparations and security readiness, Saudi Minister of Hajj and Umrah Dr. Tawfiq Al-Rabiya stated during a press briefing, an integrated system of services is fully in place to ensure that seamless arrival and safe return to our visitors, allowing them to perform their holy rituals smoothly and comfortably. As international flights continue to land around the clock, the holy city of Mecca transforms once again into the vibrant spiritual heart of the global Islamic community. As we move forward onto our next story, the World Health Organization has declared a global health emergency following a deadly and uncontained outbreak of the rare Ebola strain in Central Africa. Announced on Sunday, May 17, 2026, the WHO designated the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. The epidemic has quickly infected over 300 people and caused at least 87 deaths across the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. International health officials are sounding the alarm because laboratory testing has identified the culprit as the Bundibugyo virus strain. Unlike other variants of Ebola, there is no licensed vaccine or proven antiviral treatment available for this specific species, forcing doctors to rely strictly on basic supportive care. The virus has already spread from remote mining zones in the eastern DRC directly to Uganda's capital Kampala, where 2 patients are currently in intensive care despite the high risk of regional transmission. The WHO is advising against international travel or trade restrictions, urging nations instead to step up border screening and hospital surveillance surrounding the warning on the hidden scope of the crisis. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom stated during Sunday's emergency briefing, the outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo may be a much larger outbreak than what is currently being detected and reported, with significant local and regional risks of spreading. As rapid response teams and international medical agencies scramble to deploy experimental treatments to the front lines, Africa faces a critical race against time to contain the lethal pathogen. Now, our next story takes us to the Middle East, where a top Iranian official has delivered a chilling ultimatum to the United States military, warning that the Sea of Oman will become a graveyard for Americans. Speaking on state television on Sunday, May 17, 2026, Major General Mohsen Rezai, a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader, explicitly told US forces to back off. Rezai declared the ongoing American naval blockade as an act of war and stated that a forceful military response is Tehran's natural right. The threat comes as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps expands its operational grip on the strategic Strait of Hormuz. Al Jazeera reports that IRGC is now enforcing mandatory coordination for all maritime traffic, threatening to completely block military vessels belonging to the US and its regional allies. Diplomatic avenues are rapidly closing after President Trump rejected Iran's latest diplomatic framework over the weekend. The heightened rhetoric, coupled with a recent drone attack near a nuclear facility in the UAE, has caused global oil prices to spike on Monday morning, with Brent crude climbing past $110 a barrel. In his televised address, Major General Mohsen Rezai warned that past restraint should not be mistaken for weakness, stating, "My advice to the US military is to back off before the Gulf of Oman turns into a graveyard for your ships. Otherwise, our understanding is that a naval blockade is an act of war, and responding to it is our natural right." With Iranian forces declaring their fingers are on the trigger and Israel placing its military on high alert for renewed hostilities, the threat of a full-scale regional conflict looms larger than ever. Still on the Middle East, Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi has wrapped up a critical announcement diplomatic mission to Tehran, holding high-level talks with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian to stabilize a fragile regional ceasefire. The unscheduled 2-day visit culminated on Sunday, May 17, 2026, with a 90-minute private meeting at the Iranian presidential administration. Accompanied by Iran's foreign and interior minister, the leaders focused heavily on preventing a flare-up in the ongoing conflict between Washington and Tehran. The diplomatic push follows a deep freeze in negotiations after President Trump rejected Iran's latest counter-proposal over the weekend. Pakistan, which has served as a central mediator since the conflict erupted on February 28th, is working to establish a baseline for fresh, direct talks regarding maritime transit rights through the blocked Strait of Hormuz. Along international diplomacy, the neighboring nations reached a breakthrough on domestic security. On Saturday, the respective interior ministers signed pacts to boost border trade and construct new joint security infrastructure, aiming to convert their long volatile boundaries into a heavily regulated economic zone. Praising Islamabad's regional stance during the summit, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian commended the neutral stance of his neighbors, stating, President Pezeshkian highly commended the active diplomacy of the Pakistani government in facilitating and stabilizing the recent ceasefire, and praised the responsible cooperation of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iraq in preventing their territories from being used as bases for armed operations against Iran. As Minister Naqvi returns to Islamabad to brief Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, the success of this back-channel diplomacy remains vital to keeping the regional truce from fracturing. Still on the Middle East, an Israeli airstrike has devastated a community aid kitchen in central Gaza, killing at least 3 people and compounding the humanitarian crisis facing displaced families. The strike hit the volunteer-run soup kitchen on Sunday afternoon, May 17, 2026, near the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah. Witnesses state that the facility was entirely destroyed while volunteers were preparing daily meals for hundreds of displaced residents. The Israeli military has defended the raid, asserting that the strike precisely targeted and neutralized a Hamas commander involved in the anti-tank missile development. However, Gaza medical officials confirmed that the immediate fatalities and injuries, including civilian kitchen workers and individuals waiting for food. This latest bombardment was part of a series of weekend strikes that left at least 8 Palestinians dead across Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis. The escalation follows Israel's announcement that its forces now control 60% of the territory, sparking fears of a total breakdown of the region's fragile, US-backed truce. Condemning the persistent targeting of localized survival infrastructure, a displaced resident at the scene told reporters, "They are hitting the places that feed our children. There is no safety in looking for a loaf of bread or a bowl of soup anymore." As smoke clears from the Deir al-Balah facility, local organizers vow to resume outdoor meal distributions, even as international agencies warn that aid delivery has become virtually impossible. Dear viewers, from stories of real human lives and faces, let's take a look at numbers and statistics of business news. We're on our first story. Fuel prices in Kenya have gone up again, increasing pressure on households and businesses already struggling with a high cost of living. The latest review by energy regulators saw diesel record the highest jump, reaching the highest price ever in the country. Petrol prices are also increased significantly, making transport and daily operations more expensive for many Kenyans. The rise has been blamed on expensive crude oil in the international market and ongoing supply challenges linked to tensions in the Middle East. Increased shipping and import costs have also contributed to the higher pump prices. Economists warn that the fuel hike could trigger increases in the prices of food, transport, and other essential goods as businesses pass the extra cost to consumers. Despite government efforts to cushion citizens through fuel support programs, the global pressure on oil market continues to affect local prices. Now, on our next business story, homes and businesses in Kenya could soon pay more for electricity after Kenya Power submitted proposals for new tariffs expected to take effect from July. The review process is currently being handled by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA. The proposed changes are aimed at helping energy agencies raise more money for operations, electricity network upgrades, and maintenance of aging infrastructure blamed for frequent blackouts. Officials say the review will also consider factors such as system losses, rising operational costs, and the need to balance consumer interest with the financial needs of the energy sector. Public participation is expected before any final decision is made. Electricity prices in Kenya are reviewed after every few years under the Energy Act, with the current tariff cycle set to expire in June. The new rates would apply for the next 3 years period if approved. Analysts warn that higher electricity charges could further increase the cost of living and business operations at the time when consumers are already dealing with rising fuel and commodity prices. Now on to a final business story. French shipping giant CMA-CGM plans to invest about $820 million to modernize and expand facilities at the port of Mombasa in a major boost to Kenya's transport and logistics sector. The investment will focus on upgrading 2 port terminals to improve cargo handling, increase efficiency, and support growing trade across East and Central Africa. Officials say the project is expected to strengthen Kenya's position as a regional logistic hub. The agreement was signed during the Africa-France summit held in Nairobi and witnessed by President William Ruto and French President Emmanuel Macron. CMA-CGM says the expansion will help accommodate larger cargo volumes and improve connectivity between port, inland transport corridors, and international shipping markets. The project is also expected to create jobs and attract more investment into Kenya's maritime and logistic industries as demand for cargo services continue to grow across the region. From numbers and statistics of business news, let's take a look at sports news. We're on our first sports story. Kenyan basketball official Derek Ongechi says the country has talent and potential to become a strong basketball nation if more investment is directed towards youth development and local leagues. Ongechi believes Kenya is entering a new era in basketball, with growing interest among young players, schools, and fans helping the sport expand across the country. He says proper structures and support systems are key to sustaining the growth. He pointed out that better training facilities, sponsorship, and organized competitions would help nurture talent and create more opportunities for players to compete internationally. According to Ongechi, Kenya's success in other sports proves that the country can also excel in basketball with the right planning and commitment from stakeholders. He also encouraged young athletes to remain disciplined and focused, saying the future of Kenyan basketball depends on the next generation embracing hard work and teamwork. And finally, on our final sports story, former Harambee Stars captain Victor Wanyama is preparing for a new chapter in football as he works towards earning a higher coaching qualification after retiring from professional football. Wanyama has already completed his UEFA B coaching license and is expected to sit for UEFA A license exams in London as he continues building a future in football management. He says coaching has always been part of his long-term plans after years of learning from top managers during his playing career. The former midfielder hopes to eventually begin his coaching journey in Scotland with Celtics FC, the club where he first rose to international fame before moving to the English Premier League. Wanyama says working under coaches such as Mauricio and Ronald Koeman helped shape his understanding of football tactics and leadership. Apart from coaching ambitions, Wanyama is also focusing on mentoring young footballers through youth development programs and football initiatives aimed at giving upcoming players more exposure and opportunities. Fans across Kenya and abroad have praised his transition into coaching, with many describing him as one of Kenya's greatest football exports. And before we wrap up, here's something from the ocean that sounds more like science fiction than real life. Did you know octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood? 2 of their hearts pump blood to the gills to pick up oxygen, while the third pumps it through the body. Even more fascinating, the blood is blue because it uses a copper-based protein called hemocyanin instead of iron like humans do. This unique system helps octopuses survive in deep, cold parts of the ocean where oxygen levels are low, and there are another strange details. When an octopus swims, the heart responsible for pumping blood through the body can actually stop beating for a moment, which is why octopuses often prefer crawling over swimming to conserve energy. So the next time you think nature has run out of surprises, just remember somewhere in the ocean is a creature with 3 hearts, blue blood, and a body that still leaves scientists amazed. If you didn't know, dear viewers, now you know. That brings us to the end of today's program of Muslim World News. But as we've come to the end of our news bulletin, we bring you our feature story. I've been your host Abdulrahman Mohamed, and it's been a pleasure having you with us. Stay informed, stay inspired, and may peace be upon you. Our reporter now brings us this special feature.
Daima wema hauozi. Wasema ya kuwa yote tunayofanya hapa tufanye kwa ajili ya kutaka radhi za Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na kila tunayofanya kwa dunia yetu tufanye kwa ajili ya kutaka akhera yetu. Hii imekuwa ni siku moja maridhawa ambayo imeandaliwa kwa udhamini wa Al-Huda TV, Al-Huda Masjid na pia Iqra FM kwa ajili ya siku hii ya leo kuandaa, kusafisha na pia kuifanya iweze kuwa angavu msikiti kama hii. Usile mbali, yana mengi ambayo tumekuandalia. Ilikuwa Jumamosi ya aina yake. Safari iliyoanzia Al-Huda Masjid ikijumuisha wafanyakazi wa idara tofauti sehemu hii: Al-Huda TV, Iqra FM na Al-Huda Grounds. Mida ya saa 4 asubuhi, Ustadh Mbarak Ahmed Awes kupitia kalima yake kuizindua safari yenyewe aliguzia fadhila za ushirikiano, akisisitiza pawe na programu nyingine kama hizi. Baada ya kuisafiri barabara ya Nairobi hadi Dandora, timu nzima ilitua makami ya Sheikh Hassan Kilele, Masjid Ridwan. Na kwa mapokezi mema, hakusita kunielezea furaha yake kwa kuona timu yetu kwake haikuwa jambo dogo, bali jipya katika mtaa inayochukuliwa kuwa ya wahuni. Tuliotembea nao pia walipata nafasi ya kubarizi eneo hili, sio kwa usafi tu, bali kwa kushirikiana kwenye kuosha na kung'arisha. Niko na haya kutopata kauli yao juu ya siku yenyewe.
Jamii ya Iqra FM na Al-Huda TV, leo tumefika hapa ili na sisi tutabaruk na kidogo katika neema ya kumfurahisha Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, neema ya kuitunza na kuiosha msikiti ya Mwenyezi Mungu subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na hii ni mwito wa Bwana Mtume sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Kama unavyojua kisa cha Mihjan, huyu ni mama ambaye alikuwa anasafisha msikiti wa Bwana Mtume sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Akamuomba Mtume wakati moja kwamba atakapokufa basi Mtume sallallahu alayhi wasallam aweze kutokea na kwenda kumzika. Lakini maalasaf alifariki Mihjan usiku, na Mtume hakujua habari za kufariki Mihjan. Alipoamka asubuhi na kuuliza yuwapi yule mama ambaye anapangusa msikiti, akaambiwa yule mama ashafariki. Basi Mtume hakufurahia, mbona hakuambiwa? Basi Mtume alifanya nini? Alitoka kiguna njia mpaka makaburini, akaenda kasimama katika kaburi ya Mihjan, akamswalia na akamuombea dua. Na sisi tunaomba Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kwa khairi hii ambayo tunaifanya clean up hapa katika msikiti wa Ridwan Dandora, pamoja na kukutana na jamii ya Dandora, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala atulipe katika wema huo, na wote ambao wamefanikisha jambo hili, Al-Huda TV, Iqra FM, Al-Huda Mosque pamoja na msimamizi wake kipenzi chetu Ad-Doktor Fadilatu Sheikh Mubarak Ahmed, tunamshukuru Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Ustadh Kilele, katika mazungumzo yangu naye hatukukosa kuzungumzia kitu kuhusu usafi, hasa nikitaka upeo katika ange ya dini na usasa.
Kama kuna jambo ambalo Uislamu umehimiza na kusisitiza ni usafi. Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam alipozungumzia Uislamu akasema kwamba Uislamu ni usafi. Muislamu maoneo, yani anavyoonekana, anatakana aonekana akiwa ni msafi, iwe ni nje yake na hata ndani yake awe msafi. Msikiti ni nyumba ya Mwenyezi Mungu, na hakuna kati yetu wanadamu kwa jumla, awe Muislamu asiwe Muislamu, hakuna anayekaa mahala ambapo sio safi. Ima ni nyumba yake lazima iwe safi, ima ni afisi yake lazima iwe safi. Yani mahala popote pale atakapokaa, atakapoishi, lazima pawe na usafi. Sasa ikiwa kibinadamu tunajiweka katika hali hiyo ya usafi, nyumba yako iwe safi, sembuse nyumba ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Hiyo ndio inatakiwa iwe safi zaidi. Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam amehimiza sana Waislamu wajenge misikiti, na akahimiza sana hiyo misikiti mutakapoijenga lazima pia muihudumie kwa kuisafisha, kwa sababu kuna baadhi ya Waislamu wanaofahamu umuhimu wa usafi. Msikiti ukiwa msafi zaidi, ukiwa mzuri sana, utaona mtu hata anaacha kwake nyumbani, anakuja kukaa ndani ya msikiti. Swala imemalizika, lakini anaona hapana, acha nikae, kwa sababu ako kwenye mazingira safi. Na yale mazingira safi hata yanavutia kwa moyo, yanavutia kwa roho. Unamwona mtu ametulia, na ndio unaona hata Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam wakati wake msikiti wake ulikuwa unaoshwa, unasafishwa, na akawa anahimiza mpaka kuna baadhi ya maswahaba walikuwa wakichukua jukumu la kufukiza msikiti ili uwe na harufu mzuri, uwe unavutia.
Kwa kukokoteza kauli yake, ustadha naye kaniguzia la msingi kwa ajili yangu na wewe hapo nyumbani.
Jambo la kufanya usafi katika nyumba ya Allah ni jambo kubwa sana. Ni nyumba ya Mwenyezi Mungu, ni nyumba yake ambayo inahitajia usafi, kama tulivyohimizwa na Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam kuwa wasafi wako na mlango pia peponi. Paka uwe msafi ndio utaingia peponi. Sasa kabla hujakuwa msafi wa mwili, wa nafsi, mahala pa kuswalia ni huo msikiti utengeneze. Sisi huwa tunachukulia jambo la kufanya usafi msikitini ni mtu maalum. Yaani mtu mwenye ameajiriwa, mwenye ameandikwa hapo afanye kazi, huwa tunaonelea ni hivi, ambapo si hivyo kabisa. Kila mtu atakaposhughulika na jambo la kufanya usafi msikitini, kuna fungu lake lenye atapata. Hatutarajii kupata fungu kwa Mwenyezi Mungu kubwa kubwa. Hizi thawabu ndogo ndogo zenye unaona mimi naonelea nikafanya usafi msikitini, hizo pia ni katika kujijenga wewe thawabu zako. Yaani tupende kufanya usafi msikitini. Popote unaweza fanya usafi, lakini kwa msikitini ni bora zaidi.
Mwisho wa siku, wadhamini wa shughuli nzima hawajachelea kutoa shukrani zao.
Siku ya leo alhamdulillah, Iqra FM, Al Huda TV pamoja na Al Huda Ground tupo hapa Dandora Masjid Al Ridwan, tumekuja kufanya usafi sote kwa pamoja. Why are we doing this, you may ask? Si ati watu hapa msikiti wa Ridwan hawajui kusafisha msikiti. La hasha, wanajua. Kama alivyotanguliza kwa kusema mahariri wetu ambaye anajulikana kama Host Abdullah, ni kuwa tunataka kurudisha ile connect, yani tuna connect kwa sababu tunaona ya kuwa sometimes kuna disconnect kati yetu sisi wanahabari, ambapo sisi ndio kioo ya jamii na watu ama Waislamu kwa ujumla. Mwisho wa siku sisi bila wao, sisi tunawahitaji kama wasikilizaji na wao wanatuhitaji kama wanahabari. Kwa hiyo yote 9-10 ni kusema ya kuwa hii ni exercise ambayo tutakuwa tunafanya very frequently, so that tuhakikishe ya kuwa we serve an example to the community. Pia wao kesho kutwa watatafuta vikundi na watafute misikiti, watafute children homes ambazo wataweza kuvisit insha Allah. Kwa hiyo mwisho wa siku nasema kwanza shukrani za dhati kwa mwenzangu ambaye ni msimamizi wa Al Huda Masjid, anajulikana kama Sheikh Mubarak Ahmed Awais. Pia shukrani za dhati kwa msimamizi wa Al Huda Masjid ambaye ameweza kutupatia vijana ambao wamekuwa kiungo muhimu siku ya leo kusafisha msikiti Sheikh Alian, tunasema ya kuwa jaza yako iko kwa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Kutokana na yote iliyofanyika Jumamosi hii, sijui nisemeje, ila Mola mterehemezi awajaze wahusika wote majazo mema. Naam, kama inavyosemwa ama kama inavyotiwa katika vitabu vya dini, Uislamu zaidi ni usafi ndani yake. Leo hii Al-Huda Masjid, Al-Huda TV na Iqra FM wameshirikiana kwa ajili ya kuweza kutimiza moja kati ya hivi vipengele katika dini yetu. Na yote 9, 10 ni ya kwamba tumeweza kushajiishwa na ustadhi wa msikiti huu Masjid Ridwan ya kwamba ili tuweze kuwa Waislamu bora lazima tuweze kuzingatia kitu cha msingi sana, ambayo ni kuzingatia kuzingatia usafi, iwe ndani ya moyo, katika mwili yetu, maisha, na pia katika ile mazingira ambayo tumeweza kuliako. Nikiripotia Al-Huda TV, jina langu Shaban Yusuf.